Welcome back. My original intro to this video was so bad and rambling that I eventually deleted it, and I'm here to make a new one. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm listening to songs that were nominees for the recent Grammy Awards in the rock category, Best Rock Performance, Best Rock Song, and a few examples from the Best Rock albums. I've done this every few years just on my own, look at the list, listen to the songs to see if there's something that I've missed in the world of music that I want to add to my own repertoire of things that I listen to. It's almost always disappointing, but every now and then there's a gem in there, something that surprises me. And that was the idea here going through these. I hadn't heard any of these songs before. And some of the artists I'd never even heard of, although some of the artists I have heard of, obviously like Metallica and the Rolling Stones and the Foo Fighters, for example. And one reason that I do this is because a few years ago I realized that I was starting to become like a lot of the middle-aged and older men that I knew when I was a child, that were still only listening to the music that they grew up with, or the music that they heard in the army, or the music that they heard in college. And then they stopped listening to new music and they just stuck with those same old ones that they would listen to over and over again. And I realized I was doing that too. And so I tried to push myself forward. That was one of the reasons that I ended up finding Bandmate, Unleash the Archers, and some of the other newer, more diverse groups that I've been listening to recently. And that's kind of the idea for what I'm going to do here. Just beware that a lot of the content is going to be cut out of here, not only to keep the video short enough during my editing process, but also because I don't want the whole thing to be, ruined by copyright violations and things like that. This video is basically about my impressions, my opinion, my commentary. If you're interested in that sort of thing, keep going. Now, the winner in Best Rock Performance category was the song Not Strong Enough by boygenius. I'm pretty sure I've never even heard of this band. I assume it's a band and not just one person called boygenius. And I certainly hadn't heard of this song. So I'm going to give it a listen.
Black hole opened in the kitchen.
Well, the first thing that strikes me about this video is that it looks like it's shot with a cell phone camera. It might not be, for all I know, it was shot with professional cameras, but maybe they made it to look like a cell phone camera, like they were on vacation. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting here. Musically, it sounds like a weird mashup between country music and then alternative music from, I don't know, the 90s or something. Doesn't sound like rock, but I know rock is a really broad category that encompasses a lot of things that don't sound like rock to me.
Rock's a different time.
Okay, I kept waiting for it to change, to go to some other place, like maybe the chorus. No, the entire song sounded just like those first few seconds. And it does sound like the person singing is a talented singer. I don't want to take that away from them. But the song itself, it did nothing for me. And I know that probably says more about me than it does about the song, but there we have it. I don't understand why it won for Best Rock Performance. I don't want to say anything more about that because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings that are, or upset anybody that's a fan of that group. It just didn't do anything for me. One of the nominees in that category was Sculptures of Anything Goes by Arctic Monkeys. I also don't think I've heard of this group. Again, assuming it's a group and not a person named Arctic Monkeys. That's because I'm a middle-aged person kind of stuck in my own bubble. And like I said, I've been listening to my own music over and over. And I absolutely detest the radio because it's like 98% commercials and 2% songs that I'm not interested in. So, but anyway, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm going to try to go into this with an open mind. I will just guess, and it's hard to not assume that with a name like Arctic Monkeys, that this is a pretty imaginative, creative person or group. And Sculptures of Anything Goes, the phrase anything goes kind of says it might be out there. But that's all I've got. Let's go.
Supposed to manage my infallible beliefs while I'm sucking it to you, performing in Spanish on Italian TV. Sometime in the future, whilst wondering if your mother
Once again, I kept waiting for something to happen, for there to be I kept waiting for the rest of the music to kick in, for the chorus to go somewhere, to move me. But no, it was the whole song, to me, was the same as those first few seconds. I didn't understand much of what they were saying. I didn't go look up the lyrics like I do for Bandmate because they're in Japanese, so I kind of have to look up the translation. But here you would think, at least I'm pretty sure this one was entirely in English, but I didn't catch much of it. Again, if you're a fan of this group, I hope they do it for you. They didn't do it for me. The next nominee in the category of Best Rock Performance is More Than a Love Song by the Black Pumas. Once again, this is the third in a row, group that I've never heard of, song that I'm 100% positive I have never heard. Let's see what they've got. Maybe this one will sound like rock to me. Neither one of the previous two have. That little intro almost reminded me of Pleased to Meet You, Let Me Introduce Myself. You know the song I'm talking about, by an entirely different, older rock band. All right. Got a cute little doggy. Well, I stopped it just after the vocals started. I will say that the introduction was very relaxing, which is typically not what I want from rock. But as with many rock songs over the years, perhaps the intro, is just the intro, and this song will kick into a higher gear here. Let's find out. Flying just to be together. Just having heard one line of the vocals, I will say that I like these vocals better than the previous two songs. At least this one sounds like they're putting some effort into the vocals, and the vocals sounded like they could go with what I think of as a rock song, even if the song itself doesn't quite do that for me yet. When we face the music, it might help get to the other side of a great divide. Fly together. Whoa, I feel so hard sometimes. Well, I'll just say I enjoyed that vocal performance quite a bit more than I did the previous two songs, including the one that won this category. But again, the song didn't say rock and roll to me. In fact, I think they mentioned at least once, maybe twice in the song that they were talking about soul music, which maybe that can be under the umbrella of rock. I am not an official genre expert. If anybody is, I don't know. But I liked it. I'm not going to add it to any of my playlists, but I can see why people would like this song. I can see why it was nominated for a category, maybe not this one. This one also had change-ups, unlike the previous two. There were places where the tempo felt like it changed, where places where the instruments or some of them dropped out to make a cleaner, emptier sound, focused on just the percussion and the vocals. I got a good, nice neighborhood feeling from that video and a nice relaxed feeling from the song. I wouldn't have nominated it for Best Rock Performance. The last song in Best Rock Performance category was Rescued by the Foo Fighters. I did not find an official music video for that one. I did find a visualizer, but when I clicked on that, it looked like it's just going to be a white screen, a really bright white screen throughout the entire song. I didn't want that. And I found one where it looked like they were preparing music for their tour, but seemed like there was just some standing around talking in the studio kind of thing. I did find this one where it looks like BBC Music has said that they performed this song live. I have heard music by the Foo Fighters before. I have heard of this band. I will say that the last 2 or 3 times that I went through Grammy nominees trying to find some new music, Foo Fighters were in there. And I didn't really fall for them that hard at that time, but I'm going to give them another shot here. I don't want to sound ageist, because I'm getting up there in age myself. I just had to look out of curiosity. This guy here is about 3.5 years older than me. So, good job getting out there and getting on the stage and sweating. It doesn't look like it was a cool day here, although he is wearing dark clothing and long sleeves, but it looks like he's, producing quite a bit of perspiration there. The intro of the song didn't do anything for me, but let's keep going. Yeah, definitely looks like he's sweating. Also, remind me never to, to fill that much of the frame with my face. Just, I'm not going to do that. All right, I also wouldn't have nominated this song for Best Rock Performance, except for a little bit of a really light, quieter breakdown near the end where I think it was just vocals, maybe a tad of guitar in the background. Except for that, the whole song sounded about the same as right after the intro when the music came in. It sounded a lot like they were just channeling late 80s Bruce Springsteen, both vocally and musically. The melody and the rhythm and the way that the voice sounded, it just sounded like late 80s Bruce Springsteen, which was cool in its time, but that time has now been around for, 40 years. Again, if you love the Foo Fighters, hopefully, you're enjoying them, and I don't mean to cast any, anything negative on that, just saying that for me, it didn't do anything. I'm pretty disappointed in that entire category. And I don't know the difference between these two categories, but the previous category was Best Rock Performance. This next category is Best Rock Song. It was also won by Not Strong Enough by boygenius, which I have heard of because I just listened to it a few minutes ago. Commentary that I said for the previous category will apply here. Another nominee for Best Rock Song was Angry by the Rolling Stones. You wouldn't believe me if I said I'd never heard of them. That's because I have heard of them. I think everybody has. I'm almost positive I haven't heard this song. If it came out during the nominating period, then I haven't. I haven't heard any Rolling Stones songs in that time period, except for Paint It Black. And that's because it was on a reaction video that my children wanted to see. So I played that for them. Let's see what Angry sounds like. Okay, this one does sound like rock and roll, as did the Foo Fighters. That's all I've got so far. It does sound like rock and roll. Not quite liking the 80s style visuals here, but I'm not the one that gets to decide what goes in music videos.
Don't get angry with me. I never caused you no pain.
I will say that there's a nice bass sound in this song. There's a good, just a driving, steady drum beat. And there's probably a reason that this feels like rock and roll more than any of the other songs we've listened to so far. And that might be because these guys helped invent it. They weren't there at the very beginning of rock and roll, obviously, but they were there still when rock and roll was still maybe not an infant, but at least an adolescent, at least a child, before rock and roll became fully formed. They were part of that. And at least in my lifetime, they've always been there. So you would kind of expect that this one would sound like that.
But I can't see straight. Please don't get away with me. Come on.
Okay, that one was all right. Well, we got an ad there. All right. Sorry, I had paused the ad, but then another one started playing. So that was a fun rock song. Audio-wise, the video wasn't anything special. It looked like just a couple of models driving around in cars, while in the background on a bunch of different billboards throughout some city, there were the Rolling Stones up on the billboards, playing and singing their song. But I don't think the video had any bearing on the voting. I think it was just the audio when they vote for Best Rock Song. I would say that I don't see why this one was nominated because the song itself didn't feel that special to me as a rock song. But when you see what the other nominees were, or when you hear what the other nominees were, I can definitely see why this one was nominated because it was a rock and roll song. It's a song that you could move to at a party if it's the kind of party that plays rock and roll. It's the kind of song you can have on the background. It's the kind of song that you could, I guess, play on a road trip, that kind of thing. Rock and roll. So I'll give them points for including that one. If we're keeping track, that one's my favorite so far, even though all due respect to the Rolling Stones, I'm not a huge fan. They were great in their time, but it's not their time anymore. And the next nominee in the category for Best Rock Song was Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl by Olivia Rodrigo. I do have a daughter who's in middle school, so I have heard of Olivia Rodrigo, but I'm pretty sure I haven't heard this song or of this song. Pretty sure I've heard songs by Olivia Rodrigo before, so I'm surprised that she was nominated for the rock category, but let's listen and see what we can hear. I didn't find an official music video for this song, just an official lyric video. I'm starting this one over because I had technical difficulties.
I get along with anyone. Blood running cold. I'm on the outside with the greatest inside joke.
Maybe I didn't, give enough credit. This song sounds like rock and roll to me. The vocalization reminds me of some of the punk influence that was going around when I was younger. I know punk started a little bit before I was paying attention, but some of the stuff that I was hearing in the late 80s, early 90s, and I guess late 90s too, I'm hearing that in the vocals. The music it's slow, but a lot of rock and roll is slow. It's all right so far.
And I hate all my clothes. Feels like my skin doesn't fit right over my bones.
I actually, I sympathize with this line here. I don't hate all my clothes, but yeah, sometimes I get that.
So I guess I should go. The party's done and I'm no fun. I know. I'm broken glass,
That one wasn't bad. I think as far as Best Rock Song category at the Grammys, I think I'm still leaning toward the Rolling Stones, but this one reminded me a little bit of, do you remember that 90s band Garbage? I liked a couple of their songs. I think there was a month-long period that in the 90s that I was listening to Only Happy When It Rains a lot for various reasons. This was better than that for me. So, good job to this young lady for making a rock and roll song and getting it nominated. Rescued by the Foo Fighters was also a nominee in the Best Rock Song category. We've already seen that one, and I was not impressed. The last remaining one that I haven't done here is in the Best Rock Song category is Emotion Sickness by Queens of the Stone Age. I have heard of Queens of the Stone Age.
Use once and destroy. Single servings of pain. The dose of emotion sickness that just can't shake.
So far, I'm not impressed with the video, but I'm not here for the video. I'm here for the song. It sounds alternative to me, but again, I'm not a genre expert, and we know that genres are fluid. I'm sure with as big a following as this band probably has 786,000 subscribers on YouTube, according to the screen there. I'm sure that they have plenty of songs that are great, and maybe this is the kind of song that their fans like. This one's not doing it for me so far, but I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to go all the way through just like I did the others. All right, right, well, that one just kind of faded away there at the end. The audio did, which I might have mentioned in previous videos. That's one thing I didn't like about a lot of rock songs, that the band seemed like they didn't know how to end them. They would just fade away. So that's one of my pet peeves there. Another pet peeve was that the song didn't go anywhere musically. It just basically kept doing that same thing the whole time. I will give this one a little bit of credit. They featured the bass player. I don't know any of the names of anybody in this band. Again, assuming it's a band and not a person named Queens of the Stone Age, because you never know these days. But I heard the bass line, the bass guitar prominently in various parts of the song. There was even a part where it seemed like there was a really short bass feature about halfway through. I liked that. I think the bass guitarists often don't get the spotlight as much as they should. Some of them are amazing, but they're just always in the background. This one got a little time to shine in this song, so good. The song itself did nothing for me. So that's it for that category. The other rock category is Best Rock Album. I'm not going to listen to 5 albums here. I will just say that they were This Is Why by Paramore, But Here We Are by the Foo Fighters, Starcatcher by Greta Van Fleet, 72 Seasons by Metallica, and In Times New Roman by Queens of the Stone Age. Now, we just did Queens of the Stone Age, and I don't know if that Foo Fighters album is the same one that had the song Rescued that we already heard, but we've already heard the Foo Fighters. I've heard of Paramore, I've heard of Metallica, and I think I've heard of Greta Van Fleet. I've listened to lots of Metallica songs. I would say that I more enjoyed them when I was younger, in my teens and early 20s, back when we were in the Master of Puppets and Injustice for All era. And then I just continued to listen to them less as time went on. I have not heard any songs off of any of these albums, I'm pretty sure, except for the ones that we just heard in this video. But I don't know that I've ever heard a song by Paramore, so I'm going to find one off of this album, This Is Why. I guess it'll be one of the singles or whichever one has a music video, and see what I think of them. All right, it looks like one of the singles from the album This Is Why by Paramore is the song This Is Why, and I found an official video here. I've not been overwhelmed by what we've heard so far in this video, but I'm still trying to keep my mind open. It's a good start. I'll just say that both the music and the video make me think that they're hearkening back to an older time. The shots in this video remind me of cinematography from the 70s, and the music kind of has that vibe too. Although right before I paused, it sounded like it was about to build up to something. Okay, I can dig that. Yeah, that a little less.
If you have an opinion, maybe you should shove it. The coast is clear, but you won't catch me out. Oh, why?
I liked the intro, the way that the song started. I liked the music build-up. I liked there was a point at which the bass guitar and the drums were kind of grooving together. When the guitar came in, I was underwhelmed, and I haven't been real happy with the vocals so far. The rest of the song felt like it didn't quite deliver on the promise of the opening, but I'm going to go all the way through it just like it did with the others. Okay, I think the song is over, and this is just a little bit more video here. Again, I liked the way that it started. I could see that this band is probably something that might have a song I would like, but it's not this one. As interesting as parts of it were, it's not something I'm going to listen to frequently. All right, another album nominated for Best Rock Album was Starcatcher by Greta Van Fleet. And one of the singles from that I looked up on Wikipedia was Meeting the Master. I found an official music video for that song. I'm going to try it out.
What a day to meet the master.
All right, so far, it looks like the one person that's been visually shown playing an instrument is incredibly talented. It also looks from the video like They're having some kind of epic storytelling thing going on here in the video. I don't know whether it's related to the other videos on the album like some bands do. Thinking of Unleash the Archers there, where they'll have video after video kind of telling the same story, and sometimes other albums will help fill in the gaps. It almost reminded me of that a little bit, except musically it's very, very not rock so far.
Final day to meet the master.
All right, so far, I'm about a minute and a half into this. I will say that I wish I had clicked on the subtitles first, the closed captioning. I have no idea what's been said or sung so far. And all I can get from the video is it looks like they might be in some sort of alien cult. No offense to those of you that are in alien cults currently. You do you. Okay, it took a long time, 3.5 or 4 minutes before the music really kicked in and I started hearing something that I would classify as rock, but it's still not something that I want to listen to. As with many bands that vary styles from one song to the next, I might like another one of their songs. I'm not going to count them out. As I said, they appear to be insanely talented vocalists and the guitar player. Nothing about this song or video is doing anything for me so far. Okay, but good job for them for making that video. It looks like they had an interesting time. And the vocalist, you know, props that that person can sing. They were singing their guts out in that song. Even if it's not my style of music that I want to listen to regularly, I can at least recognize that they're talented. They've put a lot of work into that voice and what they were doing here. 72 Seasons by Metallica was another album on the Best Rock Album category, even though I'm pretty sure there were metal categories and have been for a few years. Don't most people classify Metallica as metal rather than rock? I thought metal was right in their name, but again, not a genre expert. Maybe this song is more rocky than metally, and many people do consider metal to be a subgenre of rock and roll. I guess I have to be okay with that. All right, 30 seconds in the video with almost nothing happening. I was feeling my eyelids drooping there, but finally the music cut in. It does sound like really fast, hard rock and or metal. All right, that's a good intro. Gotta give it to these guys. They've been around for a long time. Pretty sure I first heard of them when I was a freshman in high school. I'm sure they had been around for a little longer than that. Got a nice start to this song. Let's see where it goes. All right, the intro's gone on long enough now, guys. It's been 35 seconds. All we've got from the drummer so far has been the cymbal, and it's just the same thing that we heard the first 5 or 10 seconds of the intro, over and over, with minor variations. Let's just go ahead and have a song at some point. Well, from the riffs that started happening about the same time that the drums came in, I would definitely call this metal rather than rock or even hard rock. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know what all the categories are in the Grammys, but I know that they have rock and metal categories, right? There's rock, there's metal, and there's alternative. I'm pretty sure this one goes into metal. If you're going to have a separate category, then you can't make the argument that metal is part of rock, right? And if you can make that argument, then why have separate metal categories? And if you do, why put a metal one in the rock category? I don't know. I don't get to vote on these things. There's probably a reason for that. I have a question. It's 2 minutes, no vocals yet. maybe it's an instrumental. Haven't decided that yet. But I do know that there are a lot of metal and rock songs in my time that had intros that were way too long. And probably that was cool when the first band did it. Had a 4 or 5 minute intro before I was, wait, there's vocals too. But then when everybody else started doing the same thing, that got old after about 40 years, 50 years, the 50 years. Go ahead and give me the song now. This thing says I've got 6.5 minutes left. Oh my. All right after I said that, the vocals did come in. I've never really been a huge fan of the vocals in this band. I know some people are, will get really upset that I said that, but, never done that much for me. It just sounds like and feral animals have rights too. Wait, no, they don't. Okay, sorry.
The man shot down, dramatic time.
Oh, and I just realized I probably shouldn't have mentioned age when the Foo Fighters came on, because I still had on the list that I hadn't gotten to yet the Rolling Stones and Metallica. Again, like I said with the Foo Fighters, good job to all of these people are older than me. I don't know, maybe they've hired a new bassist or drummer or something that's not, but the founding members, these people are all even older than me, and I know I'm not in bad shape. I do, physical manual labor, I exercise regularly, and I know how hard it would be, how grueling it would be to get up and play an instrument for 2-3 hours, in various types of weather and lack of air conditioning and hot lights. That's amazing. I'm impressed with all of these folks. This song here, musically, I liked it, except it had a really long intro. And then once the vocals came in, I wished that the intro had just kept going. But again, the most confusing thing about this was why it was in the rock category rather than the metal category. But it's all right. I don't hate this song. And I think that the conclusion that I've drawn here is just like other times that I've gone through a list of Grammy nominees. Again, I had trouble saying Grammy. Grammy? Is that what I was trying to say? Like nominee and Grammy together? Let me start that sentence again. Just like other times that I've listened to a bunch of songs from Grammy nominees trying to find some new music, I don't think I found any here. None of these groups are going to be added to my playlist. I think rock and roll wise, the top song for me had to be the Rolling Stones, and I don't know if that's a case of I don't know what the name of the phenomenon is, but because they were there at the beginning and they've been there my whole lives, I think that's what rock and roll sounds like. Maybe that's it. But Olivia Rodrigo was a surprise, at least second, if not tied for that. That song sounded like rock and roll to me, and it had subject matter that worked for me. In fact, lyrically, and the subject matter and the emotion of the Olivia Rodrigo song worked better for me than the Rolling Stones song. Then that one didn't have a video, Olivia Rodrigo's. It was a lyrics video. I didn't find an official music video for it. But I think the Rolling Stones video should have just been that too, because to me, that was the worst part of that song was the video. So, good job for Olivia Rodrigo. I'm surprised by that because, again, I had heard of Olivia Rodrigo due to having a daughter that I think is in the age group of that fan base, maybe. But yeah, I was impressed. I'm not going to go buy one of her albums, but I'm going to keep my ears open and, be much more willing to give a shot to her next song. And third place honorable mention, I'm going to give to the Metallica song because I liked it, but for me, it was beyond the category of rock or hard rock. It was definitely metal. Overall, I'm really disappointed with these nominations, but I think a lot of, you're used to hearing that from rock and or metal fans, that sometimes we just can't explain. We just don't understand why the Grammy nominees are who they are. And some of them are really good groups, but they're not rock. Or some of them are really good groups, but the song that's presented there isn't their best or isn't the one that's going to catch my ear. And some of them have been around for 60 more years. At least one of these bands has been around for 60 something years. Like they've been a band longer than I've been alive. And is that why they're in there? Because they're the Rolling Stones? And is that why Metallica's in there? Because by golly, it's Metallica. When there are literally thousands of really good rock and metal bands in the world, some of which are better than these. And we all know it. You have your favorites and I have my favorite, but every one of us knows that there's bands out there that's better than these, that should have been on these lists, but they're not for whatever reason. If you made it through this and my disappointing commentary, thank you for watching, but only surprise, Olivia Rodrigo.